The Life Outdoors radio show with Nate Bailey. Everything you need to know about hunting Southern Oregon. Wake the wild within.
Welcome to another edition of The Life Outdoors. We don't have Gage with us today, but you know what? He's working his tail off, and he's got a lot of work ahead of him, and he's an apprentice electrician, so he's staying really busy, which is a good thing right now. So anyhow, Gage, sorry that we're doing this without you, buddy, but you know, I got to get some more stuff out there for these guys. All right, the second thing is, hey, if you haven't checked us out on YouTube, we have the Life Outdoors YouTube channel. Go over there. If you'll subscribe, it really, really helps us out a bunch. You know, we don't have any sponsors for any of this stuff, so it helps get the word out for a lot less money, and I'm trying to help people out, and it's already some of the feedback that we've got from some people. It's been great. Maybe one of these days I'll go through and read that feedback to you guys so you can see what's going on with the Life Outdoors, that we are actually here to try to help people. We're not just talking about hunting and fishing, although that's our that's kind of what we do, and so we feel like we've been given that passion for those pursuits and to help people out. So that's the reason for the podcast. That's the reason for the Instagram feeds. That's the reason for our YouTube channel as well. I have some more footage too, guys, of our hunts this year. We don't have any elk kills on them, but you know, that's not what it's all about. We do have a bunch of other quality stuff on it, and I'll get those videos out. I've been lazy. It's duck season. I also guide, so I've been guiding. It's steelhead season. I also guide steelhead, so I haven't got it all out yet, you guys. Stick with me, and it is deer season again too. So I don't know how much of this I'm going to get out until the end of November, but I'm sure going to try. So stick with us. Go over there. There's plenty of content. If you haven't seen the Life Outdoors, there's plenty of stuff over there. I'm an avid traditional archers, and I have a series there that I'm sharing on how to get into traditional bow hunting, and it's not a big target shooters type videos. They're more about bow hunting, why I choose the bows I choose, the arrows I choose, the broadheads, the string, all of the stuff that I choose because I hunt with it, and I'm not as and all my shots are going to be 30 and under, so I set my equipment up for that. So you might benefit from going over there and checking that out. So those are the things. If you do that, please leave us some likes, leave us on iTunes, leave us a rating, leave us a review. We'll get, once we start getting reviews, the two of you that listen to this, once we get reviews, we will draw a name out of the hat, and every month we'll give away one of our Life Outdoors hats. It's in multicam, so it's pretty cool. All right, with that said, we also have another thing that we started on Instagram where we ask guys, hey, look, why don't you guys give us some coordinates or go on OnX, and then with the OnX app for your phone, you could share pins. So you could share waypoints. And if you take those waypoints and you could send them to us. You could send them to us, and then we had this cool idea about what we'd do is we'd have you guys send us some waypoints. Maybe there's some spots that you've had trouble hunting before, or maybe there's some spots that you did real good at and you don't think we're going to do very good at. And Gage and I will pick those up and boogie around and try to fill some of those spots and see if we could kill some birds. And this is for ducks and geese. See if we could go in and kill some birds at those spots that you send us. I think it'd be kind of fun for everybody to see two guys bumbling around trying to figure out a spot just by having it sent to them. Now, of course, this has to be in Southern Oregon. I don't have tons of money to spend on gas. I gotta keep my budget. Got to keep the wife off of me. But so we don't have tons of money. So we're gonna kind of keep it in Southern Oregon. Over to the coast and maybe over to Lakeview and up to Roseburg and so in that kind of general area. And the next thing is you guys don't send us on a wild goose chase don't send us like where there's a bunch of sagebrush and there's no pond or anything, because we will check it out before we go there. We'll go on X, we'll look it over. Maybe we'll even show you some of the things that we look for on X. We'll make a video on what we look for. And if it looks like it's just plain not going to work, we won't do it. Just because I don't have the money or the time to invest into that. But if you do have a place that you think, there would be some birds, and it doesn't have to be knockout and killer, and it doesn't have to be your greatest spot either. I don't want that. I don't want you sharing your honey holes with us. I just want you to kind of see how we would go about trying to find birds if we didn't know the area at all. I think that would bring a lot of value to you guys. I think we've been playing with OnX ever since it came out. We've been following it through all of the updates that it does, and so we think it would. We just got another update on it. I just noticed here the other day. So we've been following it through all that, and so we know how to use that pretty well. So we would. I think it would bring you guys value in seeing how we would use that for waterfowl. It's a great tool. I'm not paid by them, but OnX, if you're listening to this, I mean, if you want to sponsor a couple of these trips, that'd be cool. I'm just kidding, but no, we just found that that's a valuable tool, and we use it for everything we do. I mean, matter of fact, so when Gage and I alternate, say I'll be, like I was running some kids, we had a youth elk hunt, and Gage was out opening day, and so he was marking stuff on there for me, telling me what he saw out there and stuff, so I could make sure that I knew what was going on in our normal spots. But he was marking and saying, hey, look, Dad, it's about 6 inches deep here, and so that way I knew where to go when I went back over. And so those kind of things are just amazing what you can do with this tool. It's an amazing tool. So anyhow, with that said, send us some of your waypoints. We would really think that that's pretty cool. So if you listen to this podcast, you could send them, you could text them to me. If you're listening to the podcast, my number is 541-951-6952. So you can text that to me. You can find me, message me, DM me, all the stuff on Instagram, Facebook. We have the Life Outdoors Instagram. I also have Barebow Hunter Instagram, and I have a Southern Oregon fly guide Instagram. So all of those, you could get a hold of me there. You could get a hold of me on Messenger. You could get a hold of me just about anywhere. If you just type in my name in Google, you'll find me, Nathan Bailey, in Google. So with that said, please send us those. That would be cool. We're really looking forward to it. We'd like to kind of cruise around and look around, and if we don't shoot ducks, we don't shoot ducks, but at least we are on an adventure, and that's what we're after. Now, the second thing I'd like to, or second or third, anyhow, the big reason I'm coming on here today is Friday, one of my labs passed away Friday, and it's got me to thinking about a lot of things. It's kind of funny. It hit me harder than it usually should. I don't want to say that crass, but I guess a dog should always hit me pretty hard, but for some reason, Max, I didn't think was going to be that big of a deal to me. We didn't duck hunt together. He wasn't a duck hunting. He fetched me about 4 or 5 ducks over his life, but we got him as a rescue dog. It was during the downturn, and the people that had him were traveling all over just trying to make a living, and he had to stay at home by himself, and they knew that wasn't right on him. So we picked him up because I had Gunner, which was my duck dog, and we picked him up, and because having 2 big dogs is always a good thing. It keeps them out of trouble. They don't get quite as bored that way. But anyhow, so we picked him up, and he melted into the family. But I think because he was away from people for so long at times before we got a hold of him, he had to stay in that house by himself for like 12 hours a shot. And he just, his whole MO, his whole passion was just to be around people. And so he was a different dog, I did love him, I loved him, but it's not the same attachment I had with him as I have with Gunner, because Gunner, I mean, I've watched Gunner go underwater to get ducks, and just we've been through a ton of stuff together. I've had to cover Gunner up with my coats because it was so cold coming back in, and he's just getting covered with ice, and so you get this attachment with your bird dog. But for some reason, Max hit me really hard, and it was probably more the way he passed. So he was old. He was 15 or 16 years old, which is really old for a lab. And we actually took him over on our youth hunt in October, and he acted like a puppy again. He loved it over there. And he'd go around the fire and get everybody that was there was loving on him. But that's all he wanted to do. That was his passion in life. And so he passed Friday, and then Born and Raised Outdoors. If you haven't checked them out yet, by the way, you need to. But they did this thing called The Office. So they run in their regular, the Born and Raised Outdoors elk hunting 2.0, Land of the Free 2.0. And on it, man, it's so amazing. You guys, if you haven't seen it, they're showing what life is about. And it's not about elk hunting. I mean, there's a lot of elk hunting in it, and elk hunting is at a top priority, but that is not what this is about. When you look at it, it's about life. And so anyhow, go over there, check them out. But anyhow, I was listening. They're doing that segment where they're doing the elk hunting, and then they're doing the behind the scenes stuff they call the office season. And what they're doing in the office season is they're showing what's going on. And they did a segment in there about passion. It was absolutely amazing. If you haven't checked out the outdoor season, it's got just as much value as the other seasons. So as their Land of the Free, check them all out. I'm telling you, you guys, this is a breath of fresh air in the world that we live in. They're showing what manhood is. They're showing what brotherhood is, and they're showing what following passions are about. And so that came out. Max passed, and I started thinking about Max, and his passing wasn't as hard on me because he was last week or so. He was having a real hard time, and we were thinking that we might have to take him in and put him down, and we really didn't want to do that. That's the last thing I would ever want to do, and I don't want to have to be taking my own dog's life. That's just I would rather them live out a full life and then let the Lord take them, and so we were we were pretty sure the night before or the day before that he was having a real hard time, didn't want to stay in the house. He never ever not once went to the bathroom in the house since we had him. And like I said, he was a rescue, and we had him for 10 years. And not once did he ever go to the bathroom in the house. Not once did he ever get in the garbage. Not once this dog was really well-mannered. Yeah, I know. It was a lab. I don't know how to explain it, but he's really well-mannered. And he never ever, went to the bathroom in the house. And so one night, I think we went to the movie or something, or maybe we were at church, but we came back and he had peed all over the house, and he was standing by the back door. This was about 3 days before he passed. Standing by the back door, just nervous as all get out, because he knew that he's not supposed to pee in the house, but here we are. We're like, Max, we know you're going, and you're 15 years old, and hey, man, we're just gonna clean that up. That's not something we totally understand that you are an old dog. That's how it works. That's how things go. But I wasn't going to let him outside either because it was cold. So, anyhow, he was really nervous, and we tried to tell him, "You're not in trouble, buddy. This is just the way it is." And so, fast forward 2 days, when he started really getting bad that night, and he passed away late at night. When he started getting really bad, he knew he couldn't control himself, so he wanted to go outside, and that just tore me up because I knew he was passing away, and I knew what his passion was. I mean, he'd sleep. We wouldn't let him sleep in our room, but he would sleep right at the end of the hall. We'd put his bed right at the end of the hall, right next to our door of our room, because that's where he wanted to be. He wanted to be as close as he could to us. That was his passion in life, and the fact that he was too afraid to stay around because he's afraid of what he was going to do on the last night that he was living. Just tears me up to this day. He ended up passing away outside. We watched him and covered him up and tried to keep him as comfortable as possible. But I really wish he would have been at the foot of my bed, because that's where he wanted to be. And so it really got me thinking about passion, and it got me thinking about a lot of different things in life. What's really important? Here I am. A couple days before, I had to go over to drill, and I have to get up real early to go to Klamath, and he was up. Last week was hard, and he's up, and he'd get up, walk around, and lay back down. Get up, walk around, and lay back down, because I'm sure he was hurting. And I was just like, oh man, this is really, really hard on me. I got to get up in the morning, and I was getting really frustrated at Max, and I was thinking, geez, dog, would you just quit? And so anyhow, I had some ill feelings towards him, and I just didn't feel, and I mean, not that I hated him or anything like that. I was just like, gee, would you just go to bed? I gotta get up in the morning. If I would have known, I probably would have got up and just petted him, and hang out with him. I could always get sleep later. But it started getting me to think about what's important. And then when Born and Raised started talking about passion and what's important in life, and now I've really started thinking about it. And one of the things that hit me also is all the stuff that gone on since Max has been with us. My boys all have grown up, and they have all moved out, all but one. He's almost moved out. He's doggone, he's working so hard now that he's not here as much as I'd like to see him. And I know he's a junior in high school, and he's getting ready he's going to graduate next year, and then life's going to go on. I know how it works. They go, and like Aaron, he's up in Fort Lewis serving the country, but I only get to see him once or twice a year, and it's hard. It's hard when you start thinking about it. And so they started pulling up when Max passed away. Of course, the boys were hit pretty hard, and they started pulling up pictures of him when they were with him, and I just started thinking of all the time and all the stuff that's gone on. It's tough. That's a tough thing. So I've really made it a thing, and I want to share with you guys that, especially you with little kids.
Hunting Southern Oregon. The Life Outdoors radio show on Gold Country Radio with Nate Bailey. Keep it tuned right here for more ways to perfect your craft. Coming up next, Wake the Wild Within.
Want to get your business noticed? Sponsor a show on KKFO Gold Country Radio on 103.3 FM and create awareness through on-air announcements, our online stream at goldcountryradio.org, and our podcasts that live on forever. Your message reaches a broad local audience while also targeting listeners who choose to tune in to the shows they love. Plus, we promote your sponsorship across our website and social media. For more information, email goldcountryradio@gmail.com. Call 541-238-6989 or visit goldcountryradio.org. Gold Country Radio, your message heard locally and beyond.
The Life Outdoors radio show with Nate Bailey. Everything you need to know about hunting Southern Oregon. Wake the Wild Within.
Especially you with young guys that are learning or teaching them how to hunt and taking them out there, and don't blink. Trust me, don't blink. I took a lot for granted with these guys. My boys are amazing young men, but at the same time, and I wouldn't change that for anything. I wouldn't, go back in time and all that like a lot of people say, but at the same time, man, I just wish I would have savored every single second and not taking a lot of things for granted. And that's honestly, that's what life's all about, is we really need to slow down enough to where we don't take the really important stuff for granted. So then I started thinking about passion, and my other dog, Gunner. He's getting old. He's 10, and he hurt hurts every time I go duck hunting when I get home, but he's not going to stop. So I got to think about getting a pup, because he's getting up there too. And at 10 years old, I don't want to hunt him all the time. And of course, Gage has riders, so we don't have to hunt him all the time. But he wants to go every time. If I get camouflage on, I got camouflage on the other morning to go deer hunting, and he just flipped out because I didn't take him. But if I get camouflage on, he's ready to go. And I started thinking about passion in him. Where does that come from? That's what he lives for, is duck hunting and me. So we went down. There's a little pond down by where I live, and we went down there at sunset. I took him he's kind of been bumming around since Mac's been gone, so I took him for a walk and kind of took him down to where I know he'd dig it, and we just sat there, and I realized how much passion he has over life. The stuff that Born and Raised said that that's in them over elk hunting. I could see it in him. So really their elk hunting is about more than just elk hunting, right? Just like his passion about duck hunting is more than just duck hunting. It speaks to something bigger. Anyhow, we were sitting there, and I like to do this at these marshes. And right at it's just a little bit after sunset, and it was just flame orange. I mean, just a beautiful sunset this evening. And we're sitting there, and all these mallards start coming in. And at first, Gunner was rubbing around and looking for mice. And, anybody who's hunting with me knows Gunner's kind of that way. Unless I make him get, in hunt mode, he's always hunting. It's just I got to sometimes make him hunt for me rather than himself. But so anyhow, he's rooting around and looking around and goofing off. And then all of a sudden, these mallards start quacking as they come in. And, we've had a few flights coming in, like 3 or 4 flights of 5 and 6, but the big flight just really started happening in this pond, and they're just coming in and quacking as they come in, and that quack right then and there, he's like all over that. He starts looking up, and he sits down, and then mallard after mallard comes in. I mean, over 100 of these things are they're coming in fives, coming in pairs, and coming in, and he's just sitting there watching every one of them, and he's looking at me like, why in the world aren't you shooting? Of course I can't shoot down there. It's kind of in the middle of town, but so we're just watching this whole thing go on, and it lasts for about a half an hour, and he just kind of settles in. Once he realizes that we weren't shooting, we just both sat down there and watched all these birds fly in, and I'm thinking, man, there is truly passion in this stuff. We truly have this passion in us. There's something inside of us that burns for things. And then I started equating that to life, What is this passion? Well, for me, it's a relationship. That's really what passion is all about. You have passion for your wife. You have passion for your kids. You do. You want them to succeed. You really work for their success. You're passionate about making sure that you're a good parent. And then you have a youth group. I have a youth group that I teach, and same kids. I've been around them since they were in the 4th grade, and now some of them graduated and married. And I have a passion to see them succeed in life, and to come and know who the Lord is, because that's where the passion really is in relationship. And our passion is in relationship too. We may not understand that, and we may kind of blow it off. But when we really look at things, relationship is what drives everything. And I mean everything. If you look at relationships as being a bad thing, you need to reconsider, because the ultimate relationship is what drives the world. It's actually what created the world. So, one of the things that I really want to point out about passion is there's an ultimate passion out there that the Lord himself. Now, I know some of you guys listening to this probably don't believe in God, or don't believe in Jesus, or might believe in a higher power. But logic tells us that only God exists to have relationship, and he actually within himself, he is a relationship within himself. He's 3 in 1, and so when we start talking about passion, he's very passionate about his relationship with us. That's why when sin entered the world, basically what that was doing, what that did was broke the relationship. He actually told Israel that they were like, God's people, the representation of God's people. That's what Israel is. And he actually told them, he told them that they were adulterous nation. So they'd actually committed adultery against him. And so he sees it on that level, and he actually sees that with us as well. We were born into this broken relationship with Christ. We came out of the womb because of sin, because of things that we had turned away from him. Sin is actually turning away from Christ. If you really, so sin is actually turning away from perfection, basically. So everything, and choosing to do so. And I'll tell you what, there was a point in your life when you chose to do the wrong thing and you know it. Well, that's what that was. And so Jesus himself feels that as being a rejection of the relationship that we had. And that relationship was so tight, he actually made us in his image. He actually made us like him. And that relationship is so tight that we actually turn away from being like him. That's what the relationship is. Now, I guys, I know this gets philosophical, but, and you really got to think it through, but if you really think about it, that is exactly what passion is all about within yourself. If you look at your passions and look at what you like, I watched these guys on Land of the Free, and they're sitting there talking about what their passion is, and some of them they did allude to elk, okay, but you know what they said? The majority of the guys were talking about was hanging out with the bros, right? That's exactly what it is, and so. We were created for that. We were built for that. And so we walked away from that with Christ. So he really takes passion seriously. And he takes living in relationship with him seriously. So seriously that he actually took a bunch of people that were supposed to be the religious people of the day, and he rousted them. I'm going to read it to you if you want to follow along. And I want you guys to understand what he's doing here, and I want you to understand why. So I'm going to just read right straight out of what the Bible says, and it's in Matthew 21:12. And Jesus entered the temple. Now, remember what the temple is. For those of you who don't study the Bible a lot, I'll kind of fill you in. The temple was a place where God was supposed to dwell with his people. That's what the temple is, okay? So understand that about the temple, because that means something. So when Jesus entered the temple, he drove out all who sold and bought in the temple. Now, what he's saying is there were a bunch of people there that in order for you to come back into and be cleansed from your sin, it's actually not cleansing, it was actually covering, to cover your sin until Jesus actually paid for it. People would take sacrifices there, blood for blood, right? So the wages for sin is death. Well, they were covering up the sin until Jesus actually paid for that death. They were just kind of putting it on a credit card, right? Now, Jesus would be the debit card. He paid the account full, and then you could withdraw from it. Well, they were using credit cards. It wasn't paid for yet. So the sin wasn't paid for yet. So these people would sell the animals inside the temple, and it got to be big business. And so Jesus, now remember what the temple was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the dwelling place of God with his people. And he drove out all who sold and bought in the temple, and he overturned their tables and money with tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers." And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple and were healed, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying out in the temple, "Hosanna, the Son of David," they were indignant. Now, what I kind of want to point out here is that Jesus went into the temple, and it also says in some of the other gospels that he actually made a whip and whipped the people. So he was pretty passionate about this, because what was going on here is they turned They turned his relationship with them into religion. They were looking at the religious practices as something that was more important than the relationship that Jesus had with them. Okay? So they would take these festivals that he told them, hey, look, do this because you're covering your sin until I ultimately pay for it. And because sin is that powerful. Now, why would he do that? Why would he have them do this every year? You know, they had to kill a lamb at the Passover feast. Why would you think he'd have them do it? Well, it was pointing exactly to what he was going to do on the cross. He was paying for all the sin that you and I have done and are still doing. And so he wanted them to realize that's what was going on. So they would kill their lamb. The Passover lamb was not just any old lamb. This was the one that kids bottle fed and knew. And so there was high symbolism in all this. Now, the thing that I want to point out here is look at where he did this. It was in the temple. It was in the place where he was supposed to be meeting people. It's where God himself dwells with his people. And so he went in there and they made it religion. And he's like, that is not what it's about. And he turned over the tables and he threw, and the priest and the Pharisees were the most religious people of the day. And he flat out got after him. So you tell me, when we start talking about passion, I mean, he was so passionate, he was whipping these guys. When we start talking about passion, this is what we talk about. Is we're talking about somebody who is so passionate. He was so passionate about his relationship with us that, for one, he killed religion. Every time he got around it, he tried to tell people, look, this is not about being religious at all. The only thing I do religious is tie my shoes in the morning, every morning. But I don't do that. I wear Romeos. But that's what he was saying is, you know, really religion, all religion should be is something that you go out and help people with. It doesn't stand in the place of God. The scribes and the Pharisees were pretty upset about what he did in the temple, but they didn't get it. So he's real passionate about his relationship with us. And if you kind of wonder where he proves that, all you got to do is look at the cross. Just for him coming on this earth, making himself a human being so that he could talk to us. And he does that through his word. So God becoming flesh, coming on earth, talking to us, and bringing us into communion with God. You know, the original thing that happened in the garden before sin entered the world. Well, we get to go back to that, and he does that through his Spirit. And all we got to do is believe that. And I'll tell you what, it's hard to believe at first, but I trust me, if you start really looking it out and following it out, it's the only thing that makes any sense on this earth. So when we look at passions, guys, when we're out there elk hunting, when we're out there duck hunting, when you watch your dog, when you understand who your dog is and how beautiful he is, and you start being passionate about how your kids are growing up, and I'm going to have grandkids, I'm sure, one of these days, and I will be passionate about being the best grandfather for them, and showing them how to blow a duck call and bugle elk and all those things. Remember that the reason that we even have passion is because we are made in God's image, and that means that we are made in a relationship with him. And if you're in a broken relationship with him, you need to come back to him. Jesus came on earth, died on the cross, paid for our sins to bring that back. I hope that helps some of you guys. I know it doesn't sit well with a lot of people. I realize that. If you have any questions, feel free to call me, text me, leave me a comment. I will talk to you personally about Jesus' passion. I'm telling you, I was one of those guys for a lot of years that sat around and said, oh, that's just a bunch of hubbub. I'm going to act religious because, that's the right thing to do. But I realized that was an idol in itself, and I was just being a moral person. I wasn't living out a life in relationship with Christ. It was actually kind of, when you do that, you actually kind of pee on the cross. You're not looking. You're actually downplaying what happened on the cross, that he bled and took all the beating that we deserve because he wanted that relationship with us. So when you look at these passions, just remember that's the ultimate passion. And the only reason we have passion is because he gave it to us. All right. Hope that helps. Please go check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and leave us some comments, guys. If this is helping you, like I said, nobody's fronting the cost to this. I'm paying for it all myself because I know, well, actually the Lord's providing it, because I know how much it changed my life, and I want it to help other people. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Life Outdoors radio show. Tune in next Sunday evening at 7 p.m. to continue to hone the primitive skills that man has always been meant to master. Hunting, Southern Oregon. The Life Outdoors radio show with Nate Bailey. Wake the wild within.